I have like a kind of this arc that I describe, and in the arc, there's a line that's kind of like a flat line. So like the arc goes like this, like you start here, and the arc that I want people to go on is to is and this journey and this process is to get to an amazing product, right? And then there's this line that just goes straight, but it stops way short of this one over here, and it says expected refinements. And so my process that I kind of so that's is it goes like this. The arc that the top of the arc is insights, right? And so the way our process works, and I'm talking maybe more about that, the point at which we start to build. I'll kind of go up to that point from like inception to like when we start to build. But before we build, the idea is like, how do we get information, inspiration, empathy, whatever it is, in order to form an insight? And so what that means in terms of process is, again, not too different from what we talked about in terms of engaging with customers in a variety of ways. And we could talk a lot about that, from doing stuff that I've done before, like doing an apprenticeship, like actually walking in the shoes of customers, to in-depth interviews, to observations. Like, again, the list it can be rather long. Data, analytics, all of that kind of gets into that space of an insight. And again, what is an insight? It's sometimes it can be hard to find, but it's that aha moment. It's the light bulb going off. It's the thing that inspires you to want to take action. And so that's the top of the arc. And then as you move, and one of the, again, going to the process part of it, is one of the, I think the most commonly, like if you're doing all that good stuff, the thing that teams fail at, even if they're doing all that good stuff, is they don't debrief, right? So again, there's this idea of like going out and getting the data, getting the information, getting the inspiration. And it can be a very individual thing, and then everybody goes back to work. And I think the most powerful part of that is often missed is that moment right after you've, let's say, gone out and observed a customer, to come together and to debrief and to hear each other talk, and to hear the words they're using, and to hear the stories they're telling, to ultimately pull out what is the pain that you saw and what are the things that surprised you. And by taking that lens, it's that thing that leads to that insight. So my process is one of, how do I help people get better insights, rich insights? And then from there, again, that being at the top of kind of the apex, the thing that I would say is the difference between expected refinements and something amazing is the level of insights that I think is a lost art, and we don't talk about it enough. Then from there, it's about forming the vision, right? It's like how, like fundamentally, how do we believe we could solve this problem, a problem that we really now understand? And the process there is, again, not narrowing too quickly, but staying broad on 7, 8 ideas, narrowing, and then going broad again, right? This idea of really fighting that urgency, or that desire, or tendency to narrow too quickly. And then it's about, again, kind of going into that space of like, okay, now we want to, there's some uncertainty if these are the right things to solve. And so then it's about, how do we do, run experiments, but not just experiments, also just bringing customers into the office, or going and doing the rapid iteration, rapid prototyping, bringing them into the solution space with us as they understand the problem as well as we do. And then going to like, then actually getting to that place where there's more fidelity in the thinking, there are clear direction in terms of the way we want the user experience to be, there's higher fidelity in the designs, and again, and then we go into production. Now, who's involved in that? Everybody, right? It's not efficient to bring everybody to everything all the time, but if engineers are not brought in the beginning, then it's going to mess things up later, or it's going to be less optimal, or you're going to fall short. You're not going to get as far as you could have if you create a certain level of excitement, empathy, passion for what you're about to work on. So going back to what I was saying about like a great PM like lets the engineer and the teams know what game are we playing and what's the score, and keeping them, and then you go into, some classic product development. And I say classic, but I guess it's somewhat more modern. But we do 2-week sprints. We follow an agile process. I still wonder if where the next evolution of that is, if we want to, especially in the B2B world, it's different from B2C. Expectations are different. And so then we go into that whole world, which I can share. But again, I feel like that part, obviously, there's a lot of execution risks once you get to that part. But the bigger thing for me has always been, are we working on the right stuff, right? And do we know that with conviction? And do we know that it's a big problem that hasn't been solved, and that it's going to create differentiation in the market, and that it's going to help us monetize and grow as a business to be able to solve bigger problems? And